In the beginning, when there was nothing, the universe was alone. There was darkness in every direction, and this left her with no one to talk to. There was no sky, or ground, or cups of tea, or in fact even a planet on which to have any of those things. Just the emptiness of the void. The universe was lonely.
Why, this is such a dark and depressing place,
she said to the darkness. The darkness failed to reply.
I am alone. I do not think I like being alone,
she continued. The darkness failed to reply. She let out a sigh and a great whoosh of nothingness.
You are terrible company.
The darkness failed to defend itself.
Fine,
the universe huffed.
I shall amuse myself.
And so she did. The universe took some of the nothing between her hooves. With it, she mixed her happiness and crafted a star. Thus the first light was born. It made the darkness draw up and retreat.
Serves you right,
she said, frowning at it. She turned back to her little star with a smile.
Hello, little one. You are new.
She paused.
And new is new, for that matter.
With a little chuckle, she watched as her star twinkled in response.
You will be better company.
And for a while, the universe was happy. She played with her star and made the darkness quite jealous. They jumped and they pranced through the nothingness of the void and had great fun. The universe was no longer alone. But soon, in the darkness, she noticed her little star did not shine as brightly as it once had. She looked with concern at her creation, wondering what could be the matter. It blinked and twinkled dimly, and she understood. Her star was lonely, for if being new was new, then it was new alone.
Well, little one, we shall simply have to fix that.
Using her great hooves, she brought forth more of the nothing, and with her curiosity, she crafted the stone. Its pale, gentle light shining in the void, chasing away a little more of the dark. Her star twinkled happily and rushed to meet its new sister. She smiled at the two, watching as they spun around one another.
Hello, little one. You are new, just as your sister was. And together, you shall be happy.
And with that, the three of them played, the universe with the sun and the sun with the stone. They chased the darkness, though they never caught it, and they rolled and tumbled through the emptiness and invented games like tag and hide and seek. But in time, their games grew boring. What fun was tag when you could run across forever? How could one play hide and seek if there were no places to hide? But this was not all. The star and the stone once again grew lonely, for it is perfectly possible to be lonely together. The universe cared for them, but what had they to care for? Neither could seem to come to terms with which of them would be cared for, nor who would do the caring. They squabbled and they argued for the longest time. The darkness enjoyed that, but the universe grew concerned. She paced and she fretted, and she looked through the hole of the void for an answer to her conundrum. She even asked the darkness, but it offered no help. She looked down at her creations as they fought, the stone and the star both shining in the void, so similar yet so different. She tilted her great head. They really couldn't help themselves. It was the nature of things. It was a new nature, but nature nonetheless. Sisters, no matter how new, will always argue. The universe sighed, the great winds of the void stretching across eternity. Then she had an idea. A third time she stretched her hooves into the nothing. She collected great swaths of it and took her heart, the embodiment of her love. The universe split it into 6 pieces and tossed them in. This was not all she used, for this was a complex working, and even the universe needs help sometimes. The sun and the stone gave a bit of themselves. Her happiness and her curiosity fell into the nothing, and finally, she mixed in the final piece, a touch of darkness, given all too willingly. With a burst of light, and for the third time, a new thing became new. It did not shine or twinkle like the star or the stone, but basked in their light. It was small, green and blue, and beautiful. The sisters spun around their new charge, looking upon it. In some ways it was smaller than them, in others quite larger. The mixture settled as the ingredients came together. The universe warned the star and the stone not to touch it until it had cooled. From happiness sprang trees and grass and greenery, a sky of blue and a land of color. From curiosity flowed oceans deep, cool and mysterious, and winds ever-changing and fickle. From darkness came shadow and secret, nestling into every crack and crevice the stone and the star cared not to touch. From love came something else, fresh and new. A little bump in the land, under the grass, quite unlike any other bump or hill or dale. It rose and it wiggled and eventually it opened. From inside came this new thing, the newest thing of all, in fact. It rolled over sleepily, for waking up for the first time is a laborious task, even when waking up has never happened before. It had 4 hooves. For the time being, they were weak and unsteady, a mane and tail flowing in green like the grass that covered the world, and a coat of the deepest brown like the bark of the oldest trees. It was a she. Not a big, booming, deserves a capital letter she like the universe, but a small, tiny she, hardly a speck on the surface, the land that seemed altogether too big. She spoke, in a voice so tiny the sun, the moon, and the universe had to lean down just to hear. It was timid, as one should be when speaking for the first time. It's the kind of thing that normally takes a lot more practice.
Hello?
She said. The universe paused.
Hello.
She answered. The new thing with 4 hooves, a tail, and a mane covered its ears, the universe's great voice threatening to blow her away. It took her a moment to answer.
What am I?
She asked. The universe paused again. She was not used to answering questions.
You are you,
she said, more gently this time. The new thing tilted its head and considered this.
What are you? I am the universe.
The universe replied.
I am the universe.
The new thing repeated. The universe paused a 3rd time.
No, that is not right. You are new.
The new thing tilted its head further. The universe gave a great sigh.
You are the product of my heart, of happiness and love, curiosity and darkness. You are new, and therefore, you may name yourself.
And with that, the universe leaned back into the sky. The star and the stone stayed above the new thing, the stone drifting away to watch the rest of the world while the star warmed the land. The new thing looked at her hooves, her mane, and her tail, and smiled. She decided she would be a pony. For a time, the pony was happy. She found that there were many places to explore on the world. She played in the forests, prancing about the trees, and hiding in holes only she could find, for the star and the stone were far too big to notice them. She swam in the seas, finding beautiful shells, and looked for treasure, though she was not quite sure what treasure was. She named everything. She named the land Earth and the blue water. She looked up at the star and the stone and called them sun and moon. She roamed far and wide across the land. She found she could till the soil and hear the steady heartbeat of the trees. She danced and swayed to it, but eventually, she grew lonely. As it had been with the star and the stone, they could care for her, warming the earth and lighting the light, but who had she to care for? At night she had no one to rest with except the darkness, and it was cold. In the day she had no one to run with in the light, though it was warm. She began to grow sad. The universe took notice and one day leaned down out of the sky to ask what was the matter. The pony replied in her small voice.
I'm lonely,
she said. The universe shook her great head.
I am sorry, but I have given most of myself to the sun and the moon, and to you. I fear I don't have anything else to give.
The pony nodded sadly. The universe saw her plight and let out a great sigh, sending the wind spinning across the plains of the world.
There is perhaps one gift I have left to give,
she said.
For I know the burden of loneliness, and that it lies heavy on a heart. It is my love that gives you life. And now, I shall give you more. Though remember what I have given, and what you want. It will take more than this to cure your loneliness. We shall not speak again.
The universe leaned up into the sky, grabbing a bit of nothing on her way, and with it, she mixed herself, the only thing she had left. And with a final breath, it fell to the earth in front of the pony.
But what do I do with it?
She asked. The universe was silent. The pony took the ball in her hooves. It was small, the darkest blue she had ever seen, darker than the deepest sea or the pale night sky. Inside were little points of light, more than she could ever hope to count. The pony spent many days trying to figure out just what the gift was, to no avail. She tried tossing it into the sky, but it simply fell back to the earth. She tried tossing it into the sea, but that just left it floating. She even tried eating it, but it would not fit in her mouth. After several cycles of the moon and the sun, she lay on the grass, discouraged and unsure what to do. She thought about the universe's advice.
Though remember what I have given, and what you want.
She thought about it, and thought, but nothing came to her. She looked out at the world, empty besides her. She was still new, and she was alone. At that, she began to cry. The tears flowed down her face as she wept. The sun and the moon leaned in close to hear, but they did not know what was the matter and could not help. She cried and cried for a day and a night until she could not cry any longer. She did not like being new. She missed the universe and desperately wanted something to talk to. When she looked down at the little ball between her hooves, she noticed it twinkling. She dried her eyes with a hoof and looked down at it. The points of light shined brilliantly, as though calling to her, and suddenly she understood.
If I don't want to be lonely, I must give some of myself.
So she reached out into the air, as she had seen the universe do. It took her a few tries, but eventually she grabbed some nothing. She thought for a moment, and being the first pony and still new, she gave something new. She gave her friendship. The ball shook and rattled with a great noise, like the cracking of the earth and the roaring of thunder. She cowered under the great din, watching from under her hooves as the gift of the universe shot into the sky, much higher than she could have ever hoped to throw it. It burst forth with a great flash of light, and all the little speckles that colored the inside spread all across the sky like glowing grains of sand. Each twinkled and shined, glittering like the brightest gold. Below her, the earth shook. She closed her eyes and curled into a ball, afraid as it seemed. A great cataclysm had befallen the earth. She lay there, huddled on the grass, until it stopped. And then, she felt something. A gentle nosing at her side. She looked up and saw another pony. This one was different. It was taller, broader. He smiled. The pony paused for a moment and looked around, all around her, just as varied and in some ways as bright as those lights in the sky. Ponies stood all around. That night, there were so many new things that many became old. There was much naming and creating. The gift of friendship was given like water, and all around the spinning green world, there was no loneliness. For who could be lonely when friendship was new?
This has been a Pony in a Box production. In the first Pony, narration was done by Calcos.
Music by Ordon Rift.
The universe was played by Wollffey. The pony was played by the Fangirl. It was written and directed by Squeak-Anon. The art was drawn by Sketchpony, and video editing was done by Ordon Rift. The credits were read by Sithking Zero. Until our next tale,